All new here tonight, we are bringing you the results of a month-long WHAS 11 News investigation into the sexual abuse allegations involving the former head coach at Racing Louisville. Our reporting into this is also revealing new information. As you know, the current Racing Louisville FC player and former members of the club allege the organization's front office fostered a culture of abuses.
An independent investigation found Racing fired its former head coach, Christy Holly, for his alleged sexual abuse of a player. And now we're hearing more from inside the organization. A current Racing player, 6 former players, and a former staff member speaking exclusively with WHAS 11's Tyler Graver. And Tyler, what have you learned here?
A lot, Shay. This has been a lot of work over the past month. Those individuals' allegations, extend beyond sexual assault. They feel they tried everything to make the club aware of a toxic environment long before that independent investigation was released on October 4th.
We could still be sitting here with nothing being addressed if it didn't get to the worst case scenario.
6 former teammates of Louisville native and current Racing player Amina Ekic, plus a former staff member, feel the same way. That former head coach Christy Holly's alleged sexual assault of former Racing defender Aaron Simon was the worst of a variety of club issues.
What Aaron did and how she stood up and has come through and said everything that's happened to her is incredible. But that was the breaking point. During
the inaugural Racing season in 2021, those who spoke to WHAS 11 alleged the following: that injuries were mistreated.
MRIs weren't a thing last year unless you were a big-time player at the club.
I feel like I couldn't even ask him. I couldn't ask about my injuries. I couldn't try to get treatment.
That Holly and other staff members were emotionally and verbally abusive.
I actually realize so much now how manipulative he was before any of it even started.
That's why all of us struggle to even get up in the morning and come into the facility.
I don't think there was ever just one week where you were like, wow, I'm happy, I'm relaxed, things are fine here. And that's kind of scary to say out loud.
That trial players did not have meals or housing provided while trying out for the team and were intentionally misled of their chances of making the squad.
It was just nonsense in the way they waged those contracts over our heads.
These players are being misled, they're being manipulated, they're being treated terribly.
And that the club violated player confidentiality when going through human resources to discuss these issues.
Obviously, at that point, trust was broken.
Ultimately, it came down to quite literally having no one to go to whenever a concern came up within the organization.
These individuals do not believe Racing has sufficiently responded to the allegations, including the alleged sexual assault of Simon and the aforementioned issues. Everyone but Ekic, who cited the ongoing joint investigation between the NWSL and NWSL Players Association, says current Racing president James O'Connor should not be involved with the club.
I don't think he has any business being a part of that organization whatsoever anymore.
When people repeatedly came to him with different concerns, he chose to kind of play either a neutral ground or sided with staff.
No one felt safe enough to go and speak to him anymore.
And they do not want anyone to ever feel that way again.
We deserve better. Past, present Racing players deserve better. I think the little boys and girls who want to play for Racing New City, they deserve better. And I think it starts here, and it starts with us to do that for them.
Now, we have many more details in this story that you can read the full thing on WHAS11.com right now.
Graver, we know you've worked on this for several weeks. What's the allegation that stands out most to you that wasn't talked about in that initial report?
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that the Yates report, I think, touched on, but didn't really expand on a lot. And it did mention that one player was denied an MRI. And what we found was that more players had issues getting their injuries treated, serious injuries at that, and had to go in other directions to get them treated. And that is because Christy Holly and Bree Brown, the former strength coach, just did not handle those situations according to the players.
You mentioned in your story the investigations the other way from the other 2 soccer organizations.
Yeah.
Why is that necessary, and what are they looking for?
I think that everybody's trying to wait for that investigation to wrap up, which, again, we don't know when that is going to conclude, to make these decisions. That's what the club is trying to do. That's what the players who have oversight in the investigation want to wait for before any personnel changes are made, is for that investigation to wrap up. But again, we don't know when that is going to conclude.